It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. I'm the president of Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting, and you can find a link to my work at emailrevealer.com. You can also get an autographed copy of my book there called How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. If you need an adoption investigation, a locate, asset search, current place of employment search, emailrevealer.com. This show is brought to you. There we go. CartKing.com. Yeah, these are the guys. CartKing.com. 877-986-7771. Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Perhaps your current business wants to add multiple point-of-sale locations across the country quickly. Maybe the facility you manage could kickstart some revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Like if you got a big building, an office building, or a hospital, or a warehouse, you put a little coffee cart there in the lobby, and you make some extra business, extra income coming in there real quick. CartKing.com can be the answer to your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile retail, coffee, and food carts and kiosks that money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients and corporations across America to provide indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application. Large, small, heated, secured outdoor retail or food kiosks, coffee kiosks, anything you need. They design and build them all, and they ship worldwide. So even if you're there in Ireland or England or something like that, they'll ship it to you. Check them out at cart-king.com or give them a call at 877-986-7771. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you and get a good deal. Okay. We have with us today Charlie Robinson, and he's the author of the book, The Global Octypus. The Octypus of Global Control. Okay, I almost sold a different book there for you, Charlie. So, all right. Charlie, are you there?
I'm here. How are you doing?
The Octypus of Global Control. Tell us
Close
about...
enough.
Put in octopus, you'll find him. That's what I've been doing all day, searching for octopus. Now, tell us about yourself. Who is Charlie Robinson?
I'm a guy that just woke up gradually to the nonsense that's happening in this world, and I doing what I do when you come across some sort of new important information, sort of very media, something that you're probably not supposed to know, but then you figure it out, you get very excited and you tell all your friends about it, and then they fit you for a tinfoil hat. So I was it was another one of these days where I had discovered some new thing, and I approached my mom and I said, hey, listen, have you heard about this? And I explained the whole, whatever it was I found. And she just says, that's great. You've got a lot of information on all these different topics. What are you going to do with it? And it stumped me because I was like, it never occurred to me I had to do something with it. So after that conversation, I started to think about what I would do. What could I contribute to this? I don't have a radio show or a television platform or a podcast or anything like that. But I figure I'm pretty good with organizing lots of information, and I have a pretty messed up sense of humor, and I have a deep interest in these sort of alternative topics. So I decided I would put together a book as a way to sort of well, if you're like me, you've had a Thanksgiving dinner and you brought up 9/11 and watched everyone at the table turn on you. And if they wanted to debate you, you didn't have all the information in front of you. So my thinking was I was going to put together a book about a variety of topics that had not just how I think things went down, but I was going to bring in the voices of experts, people that had been involved in some of these events or people that had a very unusual opinion about them. So the book features quotes from over 500 different people that had a sort of like a first-hand seat to what was going on in the world. Obviously, like the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and the Bushes and all those serious people on one side, but also Bill Hicks, George Carlin, Joe Rogan, Matt Taibbi, so people that had sort of a funny take on the news as well. And my thinking was that if you could bring in the voices from other people and the person that you're trying to inform about all these new topics, if they were able to hear, well, look, don't take my word for it. Chris Hedges, Pulitzer Prize winning author Chris Hedges said this, and this about that particular event too. It gives you a little bit more credibility, and you find that the person might say, "Oh, really? They think that too? Well, let me take a look at it then." So that was the format of the book came out of that. But what really sort of got me going in this whole thing was John Perkins' book, Confessions of an Economic Hitman. I read that in 2007. And while I was reading that book, I was on vacation, but I was also working in Las Vegas selling new homes. And it was right when the boom, probably the tip of the boom, it was just starting to come down a little bit. And between reading John Perkins' book and seeing how the IMF and World Bank set up these funds, to enslave third world countries by promising, loaning money for them to build like a hydroelectric power plant, and then and the government signs on for it. Like in the case of Ecuador, in his book, he was talking about Ecuador doing that, and the loan actually never goes to Ecuador; it goes to Halliburton or Bechtel, one of those engineering firms, and they build this power plant. And the numbers that they give the Ecuadorian people are never going to pencil out, and they wind up in debt to the IMF and World Bank. And so they use that leverage then to convince these countries to do what they need done, which is either vote on a UN resolution in their favor or allow that country to put a U.S. military base there or to privatize one of their industries like lumber or something like that. And I realized that what I was seeing in Las Vegas was just a smaller version of that. I was watching the banks lend money to people that had no business buying houses as expensive as they were, and fueling this whole housing boom through the media, in conjunction with the media, to pump this thing up, and then popping it, taking back all the tangible assets, taking back the houses from these people, and simultaneously destroying the homeowners while retaining the tangible house itself. It was as I saw that, I was like, this is exactly what John Perkins was talking about. It's just on a regional level. So it was offensive to me. I mean, I had no idea I was participating in that.
Yeah, not to interrupt you, but a lot of those people had mortgage insurance too, so the banks didn't even lose any money on those deals.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
It was such a scam. It was such a scam. But the banks are the worst. So in the book, I label, I identify 8 tentacles, being military, governmental, covert, physical, financial, media, spiritual, and scientific. And I think most people assume that the most dangerous one is the military, but I've always said that the most dangerous one is the banking arm, because it can enslave the entire world, and it has through central banking. So so that was how I got started on this, just sort of a freak combination of a friend of mine saying, hey, you should read this book, and living through like this fraud. Like if you've ever seen the movie or read the book The Big Short, that was like a documentary. That's what it was. It was people coming in and saying, I'll buy 12 houses right now. And you're like, good Lord, this is fantastic. What a great day. And then, you find out later that they lost all their properties. They lost all their money. And it was horrible, and so I felt like maybe I could write, maybe in this book, I could sort of explain how that scam is run as well. And people will not fall for it the following, the next time it happens. And by the way, the real estate market it's happening again. Yeah. It's pumped up again, and this is a very dangerous time. And as soon as you start to see, the people that shouldn't really be able to afford a house getting loans to buy houses, you should be heading for the exit. So,
yeah, I grew up in Staten Island in the 80s. I was in my 20s. And I just, by coincidence, just happened to live in this area called New Springville, where the value of the properties were going up 25% a year. These little condos, and I was buying and selling condos like a lunatic, and then all the bottom dropped out. Reagan passed this what do you call it, the capital gains tax. He changed the capital gains tax back then, and all these properties were worth less than we paid for them in this neighborhood on Staten Island, which was the fastest growing appreciating property in the whole country for a while. So when I lived here in Las Vegas and I saw this happening again, I told people. Everyone was saying, well, real estate never goes down. And I says, no, yeah, it does. It goes down sometimes. And it can pop. The bubble can pop. But no one was listening to me here at all. You had to be here for what went on here in Vegas during that real estate boom, bubble, whatever it was.
It was madness. There were people. Yeah. I sold new homes, so I wasn't like a traditional real estate agent. I was one that worked for, a publicly traded builder, a couple of them. And we, there was like a couple model homes and a sales office there, and then the rest was dirt, and you were building the houses. We would have sort of a controlled release of blocks of houses, and people knew when that was. You would tell your customers, like, we don't have anything to sell you right now, but we're going to have a release on Wednesday, at 9 o'clock in the morning. And you'd pull into work at 9 o'clock in the morning, and there would be people sleeping in sleeping bags in line in front of your office, so they could be the first person to get the houses. And I was like, this is great. It's not great. It's not great. I thought it was great because I was the person selling it. That is an unsustainable and an irrational way of buying houses. And it was, that's what it was. It was madness back then. I think, Dubai might have been only the hottest market, but still, I mean, that had the same sort of makings of a engineered collapse as well. So I felt bad about it for a lot of years. I didn't do anything wrong to the people, and like I said, I was drinking the Kool-Aid myself and lost not 2 houses during the process, but I still felt bad. I still felt bad because the people came in and they were so excited to buy the houses, and then I would hear later that they weren't living there anymore because they had to have a short sale or they got foreclosed on, and it was bad. But what really made me mad was about 3 years after the bust. It didn't all happen at once. It started to go down. It dropped pretty quick, but it kept going for about 3 years. I would see houses that were, foreclosures that would come on the market, and you'd call the agent about them. They'd say, "Oh, it's already gone." I'm like, "Oh, really? Who's are you selling to investors?" They're like, "Oh, Goldman Sachs is out here buying everything." And that made me furious because they had a huge vulture fund to go in there and pick up as many houses as they could for 20 cents on the dollar for what they were selling for during the boom. So not a fan of the big banks. I saw how they can take a family and destroy them, but they can also take communities and destroy them. So so that was one of the things that made me think about what was happening and my part in it. And of course I had by 2007 I had a pretty firm understanding of what had really been going on in 9/11, and so I was sort of distrustful of anything connected to the government at that point, and I think with good reason. So all these factors kind of played in, and so I wrote this book because I felt like it would be something for people, to send to the people closest to them, like their family or maybe their close friends that look at them and shake their head, like, you sound like a lunatic, and you're like, trust me, these things are actually happening. And so my feeling was people could just buy this book, send it to their friends, send it to their family, and let them read through it, because it covers so many topics, and you never know which topic is going to be the one that sort of shakes people out of their sleepwalking. For me, it was Building 7 on 9/11, to see that come down. For somebody else, it might be that that they find out that the Gulf of Tonkin incident was not a real thing that kicked off Vietnam, and maybe they had a family member, an uncle, a dad who died in Vietnam, and they realize that, and then they go, oh my God, if this is a lie, what else is a lie? So, I mean, that's sort of how it works with these topics. You get into one, you kind of get interested in one, and then that leads you to another, and then another.
So let me ask you, because we talked off the air a bit, right? And you're still in real estate.